You did not let me finish my response. I was to say the interrupting... Okay, you did it again.
Let's talk about what it's like to be a voice actor in Hollywood. You know, the people that spend a lot of time in a small padded room talking to themselves. It's a weird job, but a fun one, if you don't mind making ridiculous noises on cue. Being a voice actor is not just about having a deep, silky voice like Morgan Freeman. Nope, it's about versatility. One minute you might be portraying a heroic space captain, and the next you're a talking banana with social anxiety. The best voice actors don't just sound good, they bring characters to life. Take Antonio Banderas, for example. He's been voicing Puss in Boots in all the Shrek sequels since 2004 and in 2 spin-off movies. And one of the reasons this animated cat is so popular is that Antonio's character clearly shines through, thanks to the creative liberties the actor has been given by the producers.
Boots! Cat! Ha! But you're Puss in Boots.
The first is the voice, and what you do is just to read the cards at the beginning, the script, but then they allowed you to do whatever you want with it. Anything that you want, you are allowed to do. You want to improvise, you're going to just throw a line here, you're going to just do an interpretation of that particular moment in a way. They're going to take all that material and they're going to make decisions after, but you feel absolutely free.
A lot of people assume voice acting is just for animation, but some of Hollywood's biggest films rely heavily on voice work. Ever wonder how Darth Vader sounds so terrifying? That's James Earl Jones, whose deep, booming voice turned a guy in a plastic helmet into one of cinema's greatest villains. Meanwhile, behind the friendly talking tree Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy is Vin Diesel.
I'm Groot.
Who records his lines in a studio long before CGI brings the character to life. Though it's an animated character and can speak only the words, "I am Groot," Diesel took on the challenge of making the character believable.
When Kevin Feige called me about the role, he prefaced the call by saying, "What I'm going to present to you is the strangest character Marvel's ever attempted to put on film." And he is a tree. He says only 3 words. But for some reason, we feel like this would be something you could make into something special.
When you book a job in voice acting, it can range from playing an epic warrior in a video game to voicing the 5th talking squirrel in an animated film. Sometimes you record alone, reacting to characters that don't exist yet. Other times you're in a booth with other actors, trying not to laugh when someone delivers a ridiculous line. Like the teenage voice actors of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, who loved being able to riff off each other.
It was a process that really worked for this specific film and for these characters because they're so close. They're brothers. They grew up in the little sewer, and it's all they've known. The only thing they know is their brothers and their dad. And being able to capture that in the recording environment when you're actually, making the movie, it was a very good choice. And I'm glad that we were able to do it because it added a lot of fun stuff that wouldn't otherwise be there if we were recording alone.
One of the biggest perks of voice acting? No makeup, no costumes, no memorizing pages of dialogue. You could show up in pajamas, and as long as you deliver the right performance, no one cares. The downside? Competition is fierce. Traditional voice actors often lose roles to A-list celebrities, even if those celebs aren't trained for the medium. But let's be honest, nobody's complaining if you can get someone like Nicolas Cage to voice a character in your movie. Someone who actually has enough experience to know what doing voice work is like.
What I like about it is that it's all imagination. That is your greatest tool as an actor, is imagination. You have to make believe that these animals are there, and you have to make believe even that the other actors are there because they're not. So you have to imagine what their performances would be like on top of what you're doing. And that's why I always say that to be invited to do an animated feature is a great way to stay in shape.
Some of the most iconic voices in Hollywood belong to actors you've never actually seen in the roles they're most famous for. Take Andy Serkis, a fantastic on-screen performer, but also a powerhouse in voice acting. He revolutionized the art of performance capture on the Lord of the Rings films as Gollum, but he also voiced the tragic creature, and did so as well for the character of Caesar in 2014's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, something that had hardly been explored in the previous film, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
One of the greatest challenges was the use of human language, because in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, he didn't speak hardly at all, but mentioned maybe a couple of words at the end. But he was taught sign language as a young ape. So we all experimented when we were in the rehearsal period before shooting. We called it Ape Camp, and we learned sign language, and we learnt and then ape vocalizations with gesture, and then of course Caesar has to speak quite a lot when as the film progresses. So it was very much finding a voice that came out of the search for words rather than being too articulate, too far down the line in terms of linguistically articulate.
Despite the challenges, voice acting is one of the most rewarding jobs in Hollywood. Where else can you get paid to be a battle-hardened warrior, a sentient spaceship, or a demonic clown, all without ever stepping in front of a camera?
Thank you for not eating us, Bridget.
Because at the end of the day, voice actors don't just talk, they create. They give life to characters, creatures, and entire worlds, all from inside a tiny padded booth.
Come on, cutie. Let's dance.